to go over this with you guys because this was pretty much an absolute unequivocal blowout. And I don't think a lot of people are getting how big of a blowout this thing was. So give me 1 second here and we should be good to go. Let me just drop this in a couple spots and we'll get to this. Um, yeah, we should be good to go now. All right, great. So I'm going to turn him down. But this was an absolute, unequivocal, complete blowout. And there's really no other way to say it. I have him on mute for a minute, but every metric, hey guys, every metric they completely blew out. Like every single metric, they completely destroyed. Gross margins they raised. Gross margin, I have him in the background. I'm going to turn him down completely. Gross margins they raised. Revenue they raised. Data centers beat by 66%. Like there's nothing that they didn't do tonight. So they've absolutely crushed every single metric. Like for me to even go through them all, it's pointless. But every single thing they need to do, they raise gross margins, they raise their data center. He's literally laughing on the call saying, I thought this was a bubble. Like he's like actually mocking people that said it was a bubble. So it is what it is. From if you're in the community or not, you know this already. This is kind of your cell zone up here. This is where your call wall is, and you can see that area. And it's definitely of interest to me that is that area. But when it got up to there, I did start selling. I did trim a bunch. I have a bunch of calls. I would imagine that you see an entire relief rally tomorrow just based upon this. So I would not think this is going to be a one-hit wonder. I did have some SanDisk as well. I trimmed a bunch of it, but I still have some. And I just really wanted to get on here real quick, answer any questions you guys have. I have some time, but this was just a hands down absolute blowout. So that's pretty much what I have. I'll take any questions you have on the NVIDIA quarter. I'm pretty well versed in it. So anything you guys want to go over, any questions you have, I can definitely answer it. So, anything at all. If not, this is pretty much it. And I'll give you some areas that I'm interested in. But for me, you got to get through 200. And, it's going to be a hurdle as always with this thing on earnings, whether or not they do that or not. You can't really re-enter here. Like, I'm trying to hold on to the rest that I have. I look at it like that's the peak VWAP. So there's a couple VWAPs here, right? So that's peak VWAP from here. If you go and take a look at it. All right. And so we want to watch peak VWAP and make sure that you're closing above that. That's the first thing. Then you want to make sure that you're closing above the earnings VWAP. So you want to watch those areas, but you're pretty wedged in here. So I think that you're better off looking at this and saying to yourself to wait and see if you come in and then go from there. That's what I say. But everyone on the street's going to take their numbers up. Goldman actually took their numbers up today, even before the quarter. So, we'll see. I don't see how they're going to say CapEx is slowing down. I don't know how in the world they're even going to suggest that after this. I would think that, I just don't even understand how they're going to say that. But yeah, I would imagine all these things lift. I don't think there's going to be a stone unturned that doesn't lift off of it. From a technical standpoint, what probably you see tomorrow is a bunch of people that have been buried in stuff like this, and they probably are going to use the opportunity. Just take a look at it. They'll probably use the opportunity to get out of stuff and then reset and try to figure out what they want to do from there. So I would expect I don't think you're going to have a lockout rally because a lot of people candidly have been locked out. So I think what you're going to see more of, if anything, is just going to be an environment where these people are, and this is just my opinion on it, I could be wrong. I think they're going to sell, you have the pullback, and then I think you reset. So I don't know that you need to hold a whole heck of a lot, that's up $5 or $10 tonight. I would be taking advantage of it and actually scaling out into stuff more than trying to figure out what name I'm going to buy that's up 7 or 10% after hours. But the slowing, bro, they just blew it out. I mean, 66%. Like there's no slowing down in the data centers from them. I mean, the guy's actually on the call laughing about it. It's pretty funny actually, but it is what it is. Now, it's really hard to see anybody that's going to challenge this quarter and say anything negative about it. There's not one negative thing in it that I could find. Nothing. So I never get tired of winning. No. I don't think it's the yen. I think it's the understanding. It's an interesting question. I don't want to focus on the video, but it's an interesting question because I actually think that the reason that they're buying Move, the more I read this and try to figure out why they're buying so much insurance on bonds, which, a lot of people are saying it's the yen carry trade. Give me 1 second. I'm going to turn this off in the background. So, the one thing about that whole trade, if you take a look at it, right? JPY, it should do it. From my standpoint, I do think there's an issue here, but she's made it very clear, the new prime minister, she doesn't want rates going higher. What she wants and what's going to happen might be two different things, candidly. But from my standpoint, yeah, I think that this is weighing on the market. I think that some of that carry trade is weighing on the market. Yes. I also think it's because people don't have a freaking clue what the Fed's going to do. And remember, guys, anything that you deal with, right? You're going into a non-farm payroll number tomorrow. So just understand that too. Like you have non-farm payrolls tomorrow, guys. And that's going to be a problem. Like we haven't had economic data. I shouldn't say it's going to be a problem, but it's going to be a big thing. We haven't had real economic data in 45 days. And I don't even know how real that economic data is going to be that we're going to get. So that's coming, and that's definitely going to be a thing. And it's certainly something that we're going to have to pay attention to, candidly. So, when you look at something like Move or what's going on in the bond market, you look at TLT, that kind of thing. It's funny. I was just talking to some guy about this shit last night, and I looked into it and he's 100% right. I mean, he knew he was right, but like DLY, this thing's trading at a discount to NAV. So, there's a lot of people that are overly spooked and, people have been blaming the Amazons and the corporate bond market, but I don't think that's it. So if I had to tell you how I expect it, how I expect this to go is I expect you to see some kind of fade. Personally, I think you're going to have some kind of fade and then we'll go from there and we'll figure out what to do with that fade. But I really think that that's what you're going to be dealing with tomorrow. The rally up and then the fade. And that's pretty textbook. And then, for Nvda. And, we'll see how it goes from there. But that's really what you get, right? You get that pop and then the fade. And it's constant. It's incessant. It feeds upon itself. You haven't had a run and go since May of 24. If you were going to have one, this might be the time. But I'm still not sure that you're going to have one. So a lot of this stuff, it looks very good, but I wouldn't be chasing it here, guys. Like, if you caught it, cool, trade it out, make your money, get out of the way, come in tomorrow fresh, get through non-farm is kind of where my head is, what I'm going to do, and go from there. The yen carry trade could be an issue, guys. 100%. That could definitely be something. You could be right on that. So we'll see. But for me, I just think the video is going so much higher. It's not even funny. I mean, it's been a long time since I've heard somebody actually openly mock people calling things a bubble, as he just absolutely crushes every single number that's out there. Like it's just destroying them. So, we'll see. But would I be chasing? No. What else? Well, I mean, you can't really, I wouldn't look at those companies the same way. I mean, those companies are doing $1 million a quarter. So like some people have margin interest that's higher than that. So, I don't know that you'll be lightening it. I actually think you're going to go the other way. I think that people are going to start rotating into the winners. That's really where I think this goes. I think people start saying Google's going to be a winner, SanDisk is going to be a winner, and Nvidia is going to be like, who are the winners going to be and who are the losers going to be? And I think it's becoming increasingly clear that Google's going to be an absolute huge winner. And I think that's where this is going. Personally, that's where I think that this is all heading. But well, I think it's going a lot higher. And, it's interesting. Retail was selling. Yeah, that's 100% true, George. Retail was actually selling. Institutions were actually buying. And we actually went through this today, and right before earnings, where if you looked at the implied volatility, the put skew was like way low, but the implied vol was like 130 basis points over where it usually is. There's only one way it's going to happen. That's institutions. So yeah, 100%. Retail is completely out of position. Who knows? Who knows, dude, on that. I think I don't think it's a secondary issue. I think that some of the stuff's going to go higher. Like if I had to say who's going to go higher on this, to me, it's like NBIS should go a lot higher on this. Like I bought this the other day for a swing at like 93. This should go a lot higher now because demand for their chips, they're telling you they're getting sold out. So I do think that there's something to that. I do. I think that there's definitely an issue there. So it's definitely something that I'd be paying attention to. Watch what happens here. See if it does that or not, if it cuts it or doesn't cut it. But yeah, to me, it's definitely an issue where, how can I say this? There we go. Thank you very much. It's an interesting question. I think that some of them eventually rally, but I don't think it's going to happen right away, man. Let's keep going through these. I think it's just going to keep grinding. Oh, you're welcome, Brett. Glad it's going well. I'm glad it's going really well. Yeah, I think that they did a good job of that too, Storm. I do. I think they did a really good job. I hope everything's well. They did a really good job of that, I think. You want to watch that peak VWAP, watch that right here. But to me, the most important thing was getting that out of the way. Like, oh, the H20, yeah, we're not even doing that anymore. That's not even a thing anymore. And everyone's like, wait, what? Yeah, don't even worry, because that was the whole thing. Remember that? They were worried about how they gonna implement the older stuff from the newer stuff. And now they're just like, yeah, we're not even selling that stuff anymore. People soon have that in their basement, I guess. So you just want to watch that VWAP. Now, if I start closing below that level, then I'll start closing more of this. And, it is what it is. But, the call walls up here. So by knowing that, they're going to start scaling out into that area. I don't want to break that. But you're 100% right on that, Storm. And I'm glad they addressed it the way they did. The China numbers aren't even in there. China numbers aren't even in there. Yeah, they're definitely rotating into it. I mean, Meta's in a lot of trouble. Microsoft's in a lot of trouble. Google's going to win. Amazon's going to win. That's who I think wins. I think Google wins, and I think Amazon wins. I think that, but you also have to realize Microsoft realizes OpenAI is in trouble and started partnering with Anthropic. I think it's good, Ant, but I think it's going to fade, buddy. I think the whole thing will eventually come in because it's no different than April, where everybody has a bunch of money and it's all tied up, and they've been tied up forever, and they're going to get their opportunity to get out tomorrow, and they're going to get out, and then things will reset, and then we'll get opportunity. I mean, you have to realize you're going through a bottoming process, no different than what you did here. A matter of fact, in some cases, I was going through this last night. In some cases, this peak to this peak, this actually was a faster drop than all that winning and liberation. So I do think there's something to that. And I certainly think it's something to pay attention to. So we'll go from there. But overall, yeah, I really like what he has to, what's going on here. Let's keep going. But I think you have to look at it that way. It doesn't matter what you are. Well, those guys have been buried in this thing forever, and they just got their window. I don't really look at insider sales after earnings. I don't know that the street hates IREN, man. I think you have to look at IREN and say, you were a single digit stock at the beginning of the year. You were at 10 and you're at 50. I don't think that they hate it. I think you hate what you paid for it. There's a huge difference, bro. Yeah, there's like the APLD, all that stuff, right? It's all going to be the same trade. So I think they fade them and then you start picking up the pieces. Personally, I think that's the move. That's where my head is with it anyway, but we'll see. It doesn't impact Bitcoin. You might get more people buying the risk on trade. The acceleration on this drop was vicious. They don't care. They'll just throw out the stuff and sell it to somebody on eBay and buy it again. They have unlimited funds and they get 100% deduction because of the big, beautiful bill. So it doesn't even matter. Like they write it all off, man. It's not even a question. I've already pitched my tent. It's right here. It's not even a question, dude. It's NBIS all day long. No, I don't think so. I think, Brett, I think it's going to take some time. You know, you're going to have to digest it. You're going to sell down. People aren't going to understand why you're selling down, but I just think it's going to be people repositioning. I think when you finally get through that, you're getting economic data again and you get some stability there. I think that's going to be the driving force. I really do. I think that's going to be NFP's tomorrow at 8:30, or did they cancel it again? Did they cancel it again? I don't think they canceled it again. Well, I mean, I don't know if they were bearish. I don't know if they were bearish as much as, like, if you look at Nvidia, candidly, not that I was bearish, but if I go back 1, 2, 3, right, 4, 5, I have to go back 6 quarters to get a positive move on earnings, man. So it was canceled. They canceled it. No, it's on the tape. Oh, we're just joking around. Oh, I'm glad it worked out for you, Daniel. All right, I'm going to have to wrap this up. Let's see what else you got. BIC6, rebounding, SanDisk. Yeah, I think that's really the area you want to look. I don't know that I put APLD. I think you slipped that one in there, and WGC. I think you're slipping them in to make yourself feel good, but they're not the names I'd be looking at. Because Meta lowered revenue. I mean, it's just that simple. Meta lowered revenue, period. End of story. Meta does not have an AI product. They have these stupid glasses, right? That's what the street thought of Meta's earnings and revenue report. They're like, oh God, he's talking about these glasses and he's lowering revenue and he's increasing spending. That's why Meta did that. That's why Google did this. Like there's a reason for that. Yeah, what's up? What's going on, buddy? I don't have anything against it, but don't call it Micron. VRT could definitely be a big winner too. Take a look here, see what else is going on. All right, that's it. All right, guys, I got to hop on a call. I wanted to do this live just to go there and get to it. I'll see you guys. I'll be bright and early tomorrow, pre-market. Have a good night. Make good choices.